So team racing, we did a ton of team racing this year. We had a blast. We won a race. We got second in a race. It was our very first year as a team. We've recruited. We've got a lot of great pilots on our team. The way we run our team is that essentially you opt in, and then at any point in time you can opt out. I guess you're invited in. And the way we've added pilots along the way is, we'll have an event coming up and we'll check with our current pilots to see who can make it, because not every pilot makes every event. So we check with our current roster of pilots and see who might be there. Then we see, like, do we need to add more pilots? Let's see, XDC was the first one. We needed to add at least one pilot, and we ended up adding two pilots. We added Chance at the time, who's no longer with our team. He's kind of taken a break from traveling and racing. But we added Free Fall at that time. We added Sky, who has been a foundational part of our team. So we added some pilots then. Then, let's see, Open Grove, we were able to field a team for no problem. Then we did ASL, which was the race in California. Chance and myself were able to go, but we needed to add a pilot. So we picked up Dallas Kemp, also known as America, which is great because we're Team Heart of America, and he joined us for the ASL race, so now he's part of the team. And then we had International Open, and oddly enough, out of all the pilots at International Open, we didn't have enough pilots to field a team. So we ended up picking up Nurk and Jaws. Nurk is, he's a decent drone pilot, and I think, world champion. So, hey, Christian's in here too. So Christian is an OG member of our team, Heart of America FPV. He helped us found the team really back in a year ago. A year ago, give or take, we started talking about going to Sebring in Florida. And Christian, myself, Mondo, Knick-Knack, and Racebot, the founding members, and we wanted to be deliberate and strategic, and as Brain Drain used to say, we wanted to try to do everything we could to tech a win. We wanted to make sure that our gear had all the bells and whistles it needed to compete at a high level. We wanted to try to tech a win. One thing we knew from watching some team events in the past is that the pits are so important. At that point in time, the way, when you were team racing, I don't know if I have a battery around here anywhere. There's a battery. When you're team racing, your pilot would come in and pit, and you'd have to rip the battery off and put a new battery on, or like when someone came in to pit, they would land and someone would run out and unplug that quad and plug in the next quad. It was, really kind of cumbersome, and we were the very first team to utilize what we call a pit switch, the Heart of America pit switch. We had found a forum post about a guy who had used a Pololu switch to turn his VTX on and off. There wasn't a ton of information on that forum post, so we had to kind of still do a lot of work and figure something out. So we ordered these Pololu switches that were RC switches, and they were really finicky. You had to give that switch 5 volts for the logic side, and if you were running an HV VTX, then you had to also give it, VBAT. It didn't work on pin IO, which is the new technology everything's using, but it would work, I think, on a PWM signal. So you had to have like an extra motor pad on your FC, and resource remap. What I'm getting at is that it was super complicated. And then Tim, let's see. This is funny, I have like pre-packaged because we're working on building a fleet. That's what I'm getting to. I mean, these are kind of like some used, some new equipment. But Tim, also known as Tim, let's get this up here. It probably won't focus. This will focus though, if I try hard enough. Look at this. Yeah, Tim Britt started trying to develop, our own pit switch, and he made this guy right here. It's a low side switch, so most of the pit switches are doing now are high side switching, meaning that it's turning the positive side of the power connection on and off. The Pololu switch and our first switch, or really our only switch at this point, or I guess this is technically version 2.0, it's doing low side switching. Now, the problem with low side switching is if you're using a 5 volt VTX, a low side switching works fine, because since it's lower voltage, you have to draw a lot of current to turn the VTX on. When you're running an HV VTX, which I run HV VTXs, meaning, instead of being 5 volts, you're going to run it 25 volts, and it doesn't need as much current because the voltage is higher to power the VTX. So it's able to find a ground through like the video cable connection. So that's why low side switching doesn't work great. This still works on HV. VTX obviously isn't getting enough current to fully operate, but it does operate at like the tiniest, lowest level. If you've got another VTX that's actually broadcasting, it's not an issue. I've been running this for a long time and haven't had issues with it, causing bleed or anything like that. However, we're not product developers. It was kind of more than what Tim wanted to mess with. We're all busy. This is a hobby for us. And so since Tiny's LEDs came out with their pit switch, and Olaf has a pit switch, and Whitenoise Kevin, he's doing a version of FC with a pit switch in it. I've heard that other manufacturers are doing FCs with pit switches. CL Racing, they did an FC with a pit switch in it. However, it's also low side switching. 99% certain of that. It did not work very well. It would not turn it off all the way if you're using HV gear. So a lot of pit switches coming out. We didn't really feel like we needed to have our own. I've got a few of the prototypes essentially that I still use because they work. About pit switches, I guess, if you have any questions or just want to chit chat, you know, I'm trying to watch the comments here, but you know, there's a little bit of controversy, as Jimmy Fallon would say, in regard to pit switches, because Tiny's LEDs, you know, he came out with his real pit switch, and then Olaf came out with his VTX Assassin. And I've got one of those right here, which I don't know if the Assassin is dead or the VTX is dead or what I need tested. This is from the quad that went swimming the other day, so I gotta check that out. But Olaf did a VTX Assassin. If you mention Olaf's VTX Assassin on the internet, then there's what I like to call the pit switch mafia that will start messaging you and tell you how Olaf's, you know, a punk or whatever. But I can't really get mad at Olaf for stealing an idea that I feel like personally someone stole from us. I don't want to say stole. Stole is the wrong language. No one stole it. We're totally fine. We knew that someone was going to make a pit switch and bring it to the marketplace. That was super exciting for us. Even if it wasn't us that did it, like, that was fine. We were the ones that made it a thing. We kind of just wanted credit, you know, that, hey, these guys came up with a good idea that's going to change the future of racing. Like Team Heart of America, the guys that sat, you know, did the work to come up with that concept, I guess. We just kind of wanted credit for it instead of acting like, you know, you came up with it. But anyway, be careful what you say about pit switches on the internet, because the pit switch mafia will come after you. The real pit, I have a few of them. Actually, a good chunk of our fleet will have real pits in them because we haven't made more of ours, and they work great. It's a great product, and I like all that. Our goal is to eventually get 20 team quads built that are all relatively identical. Actually, ideally, if I'm talking about an ideal world, we would want to do 20 identical drones. We could use them for team events. The things that the drones need to be is they need to be reliable. Obviously, they need to be fast. They need to have, you know, good video. They need to have a pit switch, is an absolute must for team racing. It looks like at this point we're starting by building 12 quads. Half of them are going to be on Crossfire, and half of them are going to be on FR Sky, just 2.4, because we want to kind of get the most compatibility with everybody on our team. In my mind, in an ideal world, they would all be Crossfire. We would all be using a micro Crossfire TX. Everyone on our team would have a radio compatible with a micro TX from Crossfire. That way, in a race, if we need to share quads, it's not a matter of someone sharing a radio. It's just a matter of popping the module out of the back of your radio. If you're not familiar with this, the way they pop in here. So literally it's like that and like that. So in my mind, that would be the ideal way to go about it. Not everybody on our team has a radio that's compatible with the micro TX. So for now, we're going to do half of the fleet in Crossfire, half of the fleet in FR Sky, so we're working on getting that situated. The thing we're super excited about is our new frame sponsor. This is the Flight Club Proton. I'm looking at the screen because it's so freaking pretty. I was excited about this frame. Mondo had been flying it for a while. I had been using the Floss 2 frame, original Floss 2 frame with individual arms, and I really liked the 5.5-inch arms. Felt like the wider wheelbase just made it handle better. Here's all my Floss 2 frames. I'm going to be selling these, so if you know someone that's interested in, I think 7 Floss 2 frames and a bunch of extra arms, have them hit me up. I'll give you a good deal. Floss 2 was a great frame, and the crazy thing is that when I initially made the switch to the Floss 2, I had flown a atmospheric adventure frame that was okay. I had flown, primarily I'd been flying cheap frames I could buy on Amazon, like a GIP RC Chimp. I had flown that for a while. And when I first built the Floss 2, my mind was blown. Like, it was just such a nice quality frame, and just like I liked how you could swap arms easy. Up until that point, I'd always used unibody frames, but they kind of changed their business model a little bit over time, and I still have utmost respect for Surge. One of my favorite FCs on the market is his Piroflip FC is incredible. So big props to Surge. This is not a slam, but I really loved the Floss 2 frame. I didn't like the fact that they started moving to the wishbone arms. The wishbone arms also changed the geometry of the quad, and I wasn't a big fan of that, so I ended up trying to buy all the used single 5.5 inch 4mm arms I could find. Like, I think I noticed one time that Heli Nation had some of those, so I like bought everyone they had. I knew that at some point, since they weren't making those arms anymore, I was gonna have to move to a different frame, and so my eyes had been kind of open. What frame do I want to move to? And Mondo had been flying the Proton, but my floss frames were still intact. I still had enough spare arms, so I wasn't ready to make the change or anything. But then Mondo was talking to Mike Singh, who's the guy that runs Flight Club, and if you haven't subscribed to his YouTube channel, definitely go over there and do it. And Mike says he wanted to sponsor our team, Heart of America FPV. I was just blown away. I knew the frame was quality. The other thing about frames, you know, my viewpoint on them too, is that in my opinion, the frame is primarily about how easy is it to build, how easy is it to swap components, how durable is it. You know, when it comes to like the flight characteristics and stuff, I had never really put a lot of emphasis on that. In my opinion, unless it was just wrong and really bad, they're all gonna fly good. I really liked that it was individual arms. It's even easier than the Floss to swap arms. Flight Club, they've made available 4mm arms, or you can buy practice arms at 5mm, which is cool. I like that concept that you have a choice there. They've got 4-inch, 5-inch, 5.5, 6-inch arms, or if you want to stretch X, we went with the straight X frame with 5.5-inch arms, but if you want to stretch X 5-inch, they've got that too. So I love all the options. They've got a plate that everything mounts into. You don't have any lock nuts on the frame itself, which I thought was pretty cool. But there were a lot of things about this I didn't know until I got the frame and started building it out. We'll kind of talk about that as we build one. Holy bananas. Let's build a quad. Like I said, we're working on building 12 of these suckers out to be as identical as possible. Right now, you know, our only sponsor is Flight Club at the moment. We don't have any loyalties to any company, any brand. We're testing some different things. I've got a few of Kevin Lee's flight controllers coming. I'm really excited about that, just for the simplicity of the build. Very excited about that. The only thing I don't like about Kevin's board is that it only supports to 5-volt VTX, and I really prefer running the HV VTX, and it's because of price. Heli Nation, actually, with their sale this last weekend, I was able to buy TBS Unify's the HV versions for like $18, so I bought a bunch of them. The 5-volt versions you might be able to find for $30 some odd, so that's why I like the HV version. Our fleet right now, we don't have an FC sponsor. Kevin has offered us a really good deal, but we don't know if we can take him up on it because of the VTXs. But we've talked to him. Surge has offered us a really good deal. We've talked to Hobby Wing about maybe them sponsoring us too. So we've got a lot of different things that have been in the works, but right now Flight Club is our primary and only sponsor. So big time thank you to Mike over at Flight Club. We want to run premium gear that we know we can trust, and if you represent a company and you think your gear has what it takes to be in the fastest, most reliable, most podium crushing team fleet in drone racing, then give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about getting your gear in this fleet. This one though, I'm going to put an Aikon in, an Aikon that I broke the adapter off of, but like I said, we're piecing this together with gear we had because we're funding it with the exception of the frame. So, all right, Flight Club. Wait till you guys see this frame. It's so sexy. Love this frame. I love the stickers. I've been giving those to my kids. They love the stickers. Great stickers there from Flight Club. So here we go. This is the bottom plate here. So it's kind of a sandwich situation. There's the bottom plate. This is the kind of the mounting plate. Super impressive. Here's top plate. There's some of the hardware. A few things I was really surprised about. First off, I didn't realize this came with it. I knew Mondo had ran this on his, but I thought this was just something he had printed. But it comes with an antenna mount that's super well printed, good quality. It does come with camera mounts as well. I don't use those camera mounts. We're going to put Crossfire in this one with an Immortal T. I'm just zip tying to the arms. But it does come, this antenna mount, a situation here for 2.4 antennas as well. So it comes with antenna tubes. Then these, I think they call them the butter mounts, which are kind of cool little little gummies. And I love the fact that there's a lot of extras, plenty of the stuff. But the neatest thing that I did not expect, that was really surprising to me, and if you have questions about this while we build it, please ask. What I didn't realize is you actually build 90% of the quad on this plate. I like this plate. And I like the orange gummies, but not necessarily with the red plate. I wish you could do like black gummies or blue gummies or something, because we're Heart of America. The other thing about this frame is it does some things out of the box that I had really believed in and been doing for a while. The first one is, instead of using like nylon standoffs for your stack, what you're going to do here, and I love the way they do it. So they've got these butter mounts in the aluminum plate, and then instead of using like nylon standoffs, you're actually going to run steel screws up through there. Now everything that's attached to this, because it's only touching gummies everywhere, everything in the stack is now 100% soft mounted. So that's pretty cool. Now Mondo has been building this frame for several months. He said he's perfected the Proton build, which is cool, and he highly suggested doing an extra. So I'm going to take one of these gummies, or two of them technically. I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to do an extra half of a gummy on each one of those screws, just to give a little bit of space between the bottom plate, that aluminum plate, and the ESC. I'll be mounting my FC upside down on this, so then I can put the VTX on the back of it. I need a little bit of extra space. Mondo, he just uses gummies in between all of this, but I'm actually going to put 6mm nylon spacers down on that. This is the fourth one of these I've built this week. Limited edition Heart of America gummies. Yeah, buddy. We should do that. Track down a vendor. Alibaba, I can buy like 10,000 of them for $4 or something. Alright guys, so I'm going to break away here. Essentially the rest of this video is me fumbling through building this quad. So I'm going to stick it in time-lapse mode and share some DVR footage of me flying this thing around the track. I really do love this quad. If you are on the fence, if you're in the market for a new frame, absolutely hit up Mike at Flight Club. Just search anywhere, Flight Club Proton. Yes, they are our team frame sponsor, but I swear to you, with everything I am, this is a frame worth buying. It's on sale right now today. It might not last through tomorrow, but it's on sale for $55. It's normally $70. Definitely pop over there to Flight Club and pick yourself up a Proton, and you will not be disappointed. This frame is incredible. I look forward to seeing your beautiful Proton builds on the track. Like I mentioned before, if you're a vendor and you think your gear has what it takes to be in the Heart of America team fleet, please reach out. You can find me on Facebook. I'm always, making a scene in one of the groups. So definitely hit me up, and let's talk about what we can work out. We would love to represent your brand and see if it has what it takes. So guys, thanks for checking this out. As always, please subscribe, share, and we will see you next time on Heart of America FPV. Later. We don't know for sure, 'cause there's a voice in the silence.